Welcome, everyone. This is part 3 of a series with me on cultivating wisdom. It's about the inspiration for this series is very much about finding everyday practices that can help us to be more resilient in the face of everything that is happening in our lives on a daily basis. And especially, I was feeling very inspired to create this series because of everything that's going on in the world right now. Has anybody felt like there's maybe some things going on in the world that have a little bit extra weight? Yeah. So I've been feeling that and was thinking, well, how can we together cultivate wisdom and cultivate more resilience through very simple practices? How can we remind ourselves what we already know, but also how can we remind ourselves what the kind of root, the core, the essence of the practice, of the practices themselves? So we've been focusing on different things each time. We focused on how to kind of ride the waves of the different sensations and emotions that have been arising, and we're kind of playful with some different breathing exercises that are somewhat unconventional, and then working on really finding grounding practices. In the last session, we were focusing on a little bit more of the same, but really finding kind of deeper roots in that grounding. And today, we'll be looking at how we can use compassion practices or loving kindness practices to come into deeper connection, not only with ourselves, how can develop some self-compassion, but how can we invest in doing practices that bring about this sense of common humanity and this compassion for all beings, and how can that be yet another regular practice that can help us to be more present for our lives, even in the midst of big challenges. So I want to start with an embodied practice that helps to bring about a little bit of self-compassion. So if you are seated, what I'll invite you to do is stand up, and I'm going to grab the handheld mic so that everyone can still hear me. All right, can everybody online hear me? Maybe a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, fantastic. So once you're in a standing position, if you can stand, this can also be done seated, I invite you to just simply feel your feet on the floor. So also you can feel your feet on the floor if you're in a seated position. You're just simply lengthening up through your spine. And we're feeling where the weight naturally goes on the feet. And then send your weight a little bit too far forward. Like you have to use the muscles in your toes to keep you from falling forward. And then bring your weight a little bit too far back. You feel like the muscles on the back side of your body, you feel your gluteal muscles start to engage to keep you upright. Then come back to center and try to find that easy space where you don't have to engage your muscles too much. There's no gripping happening. Maybe there's tone, but you find that center point where, it feels like everything is stacking. Does everybody feel that? Yeah? Is this where you were before we went forward and back? That's not where I was, naturally, right? So finding these extremes and then finding, that's dead center. Okay, can be really, really helpful. Then shift your weight a little bit too far to your right, almost as you feel like you're gonna fall over to your right, and then shift your weight a little bit too far to your left. And then you'll bring your weight back to center it from right to left, forward, back. Where is that easy balance between those 4 extremes? I notice that I tend to put more of my weight in the balls of my feet. Maybe you noticed some tendency in yourself. Maybe you tend to lean toward one side or the other. How we find center and come back to center every time. And even going through this exercise is a practice of self-compassion, right? How are we over-efforting as we move through our day, the way that we're standing? Now, I invite you to kind of trace up from your feet, up through your legs, right? Is there anything that is holding here? Are you gripping through your calf muscles? Are you gripping through your quads? And then just take one leg and shake it out a little bit. and then lay it back down. All right. And you can keep your foot on the floor if you need it for balance and shake it out, or you can lift it up and shake it out. And lower it back down. Just noticing any difference. And then take your hips and just give them a little wiggle. What are you holding on to there? Is there anything that's hanging on that doesn't need to? And then you just allow it to settle. Maybe feel a little bit of movement, a little bit of tingling, that kind of alive energy that's flowing through now. And coming up through your torso, maybe give your belly a little jiggle, whatever that means for you. And then up into your chest. Jiggle in through your back, and through the front of your body, the back of your body. And then perhaps even twist to one side and jiggle over that way. And then twist the other way and see if anything needs to release over there. And then coming back to center and seeing, how can I come to a position that's easeful, balanced, and moving through your shoulders a little bit, maybe up and down to start, forward, back, and then maybe a shimmy. I can release tension there. And then taking it into your arms, shaking out anything that is holding on there. Maybe one arm at a time or both arms at the same time. And then without thrashing your head and neck around, just notice if there's any tiny little movement that would like to happen here. Maybe it's down and up, maybe it's side to side, maybe it's shaking yes or no. What wants to release through your head and neck? Yeah. And the last piece of this embodied practice, this kind of tuning into the body, how you're placing the body, like sense what wants to stretch and how it wants to stretch, like an animal coming up from a nap, or just noticing that something feels stiff. It might be like, oh, I want to side bend this way, or I want to do a back bend, or I want to bend both ways. What wants to happen with the body? Try to be spontaneous and open to whatever wants to happen. Maybe it's a forward bend. Maybe you hold one particular stretch for a few breaths, or maybe it keeps moving. What does the body want to do? How can you create more ease? And once you've explored that spontaneous, kind of intuitive movement through your body, the intuitive stretch, I invite you to intuitively think of one type of gesture or action of like self kind of touch that your body is calling for, that would feel compassionate, that would feel like, hey, like I see I've got you. Maybe it's a hug. Maybe it's placing one or both hands on your heart. Maybe it's just standing tall, feeling your contact with the earth. What kind of gesture would be right? Say like, I got you. I love you. I care about you. Yeah. Just allowing it to soak in for a couple more breaths. To the degree that you can today, feeling what it brings up. Feeling if it's easy or difficult. Then allowing the gesture to subside, and you can come back to your seat as you feel ready. So welcome back. Just a little gentle opening, getting ourselves into our bodies, experiencing a kind of embodied self-compassion. How do we set ourselves up for approaching our life with ease? And this is really an act of self-love. This is an act of self-love. It's simple. And yet it's not so simple. We don't remember to do it all the time. So we'll have a little bit of practice, just like we experienced together. We'll also be chatting a bit. We'll have some discussion. We'll have some prompts for you. And there'll also be some sound near the end. You'll hear the sound of my voice as a kind of like a brief sound healing closing to our practice. So for today, my question for you is, as we move into this practice, can you think of a moment in your life, and we'll do a kind of a visualization. If you'd like to visualize with your eyes open or with your eyes closed, you can get yourself into a comfortable position. It's like part 2 to our opening practice. I want you to think of in your mind's eye a moment in your life where you were surprised, pleasantly surprised, a serendipity of sorts, of someone showing kindness, showing you kindness, showing compassion. Maybe it's someone that you know well. Or maybe it was a stranger who helped you in a moment of need. Something as simple as helping with directions or helping you to pick up some spilled groceries or giving you a smile. Is there a single instance within the last week or two that you can settle on and really start to picture? Who is this person who showed you this serendipitous kindness, this unexpected kind action? And as you form this picture in your mind, notice how you're feeling inside your body. Perhaps what you notice is warmth, activity. Do you feel tense in some areas, or do you feel more open and spacious? How did that act of kindness make you feel? How is it making you feel even now? And with this brief practice now, I invite you to think about what this might inspire you to do. What is one way that you would like to pay it forward, or what is one way you did pay it forward? What is a small act of kindness that you can offer? What do you want to offer? How do you want to bring more kindness into the world? And be a very brief practice. I invite you to take a couple deeper breaths. As you feel ready, I invite you to open your eyes again, coming back into the space if your eyes were closed, and being compassionate with yourself, which might mean that you stretch after that, or you can stay still. So I'm very, very curious, and this is two questions that are posed to all of you and also to everyone online as well. What was that small act of kindness that came to you? And you might even respond, I couldn't think of anything specific, which is okay. And then what did it inspire you to do? What is the act of kindness that you would like to offer? I'll share that what came to mind for me was a moment, as I took Bart here today, a moment that I actually observed. It wasn't directed toward me, but there were two women sitting across from one another, and one spontaneously just said to the other, "You are so beautiful. You are so pretty." And the woman across from her said, I was just thinking the same thing about you. You're so pretty." And I saw how it just lit up their faces immediately. And it reminded me that it doesn't have to be anything big. That everyday acts of kindness, they actually make a huge difference in our lives and in others' lives. So I'm curious, does anybody feel inspired to share anything that came up? Yeah, please.
It's a little unusual, but it was so big. It was just a friend kind of giving me some tough love, just pointing out something I wasn't noticing about myself. And he really took a chance,
Yeah.
not knowing how it would be received. It was received fully.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And it felt so generous.
Yay.
And I noticed that after that, the thing that I was doing that was kind of selfish, it was no longer there. And there was just room for so many acts of kindness and receiving and listening and, taking in and just being really present and there for everyone. And then I couldn't stop. It was a waterfall of acts of kindness after that.
I love that.
That I'm not going to go into.
Well, I can feel it anyway, even if you don't share the details. And I also really felt how meaningful it was to receive that tough love. Right? Sometimes that is the most compassionate thing. It's not what we often gravitate toward, but those people who can really give us that kind of tough love and that feedback that help us to grow, those are the best of friends.
I'm so open to it.
Yeah.
You guys.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, yeah.
I went to an event this weekend, And it was like first time going to this very specialized kind of once in a, it was a very, very cool opportunity. I was nervous driving all the way up to Mendocino and driving into this festival. And I was really kind of like just alert to it. I'm very, very kind of nervous, just feeling like, I don't know who's here. I don't know what's going to happen. And I was going with some friends, and just as I pulled in, very unplanned, this person was walking down toward me, and it was like, that's serendipity. It was like, and both he and I went, it's amazing that you drove in and I was right there. And what I just felt was belonging. Like I was so relieved that instead of having to navigate the whole thing by myself, I'm like, there he was. It just kind of just so smooth, and he was so gracious. And he was like, because he was introducing it to me as he was kind of hosting us.
Yeah.
So it was just really special, and it was totally serendipitous. I was like, you can't plan that.
Yeah.
Because there's no communication, no cell phones, no way to say, I'm coming at this time, I'll be there at 1:33, It just worked. And then after that, I felt this grace, felt really belonging, felt a lot of belonging. And then I had to do the same thing for somebody else. So I tried to be like, it's weird because I was trying to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
So I was there early. I was like, I just kind of wanted to be there to offer that, because I felt like it's really, the one thing you don't want to have to do is try to figure everything out when you arrive at something like that. It's like a retreat or a festival or something, there's a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
So it really felt, it was really great. It just made me feel like I belonged.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Belonging is so important. And a lot of the kind of loneliness that is very rampant right now comes from a feeling like we don't belong, like we're disconnected. So when we have those reminders, it's really, really rich and meaningful. I'm finding myself curious, how did it go with offering that for someone else?
Really well.
Good.
And I sort of anticipated timing. I knew they were coming at a certain time, so I was there. And when they arrived, it was just like, I just overflowed with, hey, come on in. I felt like I'd been there, I'd done this acclimating,
Yeah.
and I really helped acclimate. I felt like that was part of what I was able to do. Like, be gracious, be helpful, create a sense of belonging. So somebody coming in didn't feel at all like nervous or awkward.
So beautiful. Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing. Yeah. Anyone else have something?
This brought back a memory that I had forgotten, but the theme is a kindness that someone did to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a fairly extraordinary one.
Mm.
A year or two ago, I was walking down Mission, not far from here, and I came past a young man panhandling.
Mm.
So I got out $1 or $2 and gave it to him.
Yeah.
And I was starting to walk away, and I don't know, with a word or emotion, he told me to wait. And he went in a pocket and he handed me a $100 bill.
Wow.
And I, what, this is crazy. You don't want to do that. But he insisted that I take it.
Wow.
I don't know, did I ever tell you this? Probably. Oh, I did.
Wow.
And I, and then I left it kind of walking down, and I had this airy, spacey feeling that, what was that? Why did he do that? I'll never know why.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a rich kid slumming, who knows? But I didn't spend it. I would keep it in my desk every once in a while. I'd look in there. Yeah, it really happened.
That's amazing. It's amazing. What a lesson, too. I mean, we never know
Yeah,
Who-
that was a surprise, all right.
who people are, who they are when we're passing them on the street. Appearances are deceiving, right? It's beautiful. Anybody else? This person seems like a very wise saint to me. Teacher for humanity. I also love the idea of rewarding kindness greatly. Rewarding kindness greatly. I wish that that were more the norm. I think we'd live in a kinder world. That's for sure. So, as a part of our exploration, we've been very inspired lately by the words of Pema Chodron. She's always been a teacher that's very, very dear to my heart, and I've been reading her book, Living Beautifully. And the chapter that I've been drawing a lot of the lessons from tonight, the title of it is The Catalyst for Compassion. The Catalyst for Compassion. And I'll share a couple of things that really stood out for me that she mentions are the catalyst for compassion. I think that they're very, very helpful as a guidepost, as a way of us moving through and finding more compassion in our lives, finding more acts of spontaneous kindness, intentional kindness, and just all the types of kindness, and how we can bring that about. She mentions that there are three main ways to kind of invest in creating a more compassionate way of showing up in the world. That we can think of ourselves kind of like the monarch, which she describes as you see the cultivation of your inner life, of your awareness of your sensations, your emotions. It's really cultivating your inner self. That inner transformation is a big part of the focus. Is that we do practices like this to be able to kind of cultivate a certain way of being and showing up in the world, a certain degree of ease, kind of like a heart of kindness that shows up wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And this is kind of the monarch's path, is that we see ourselves as the kind of the work, that we go inside and we cultivate this so that we show up for relationships and for our lives with compassion, with care. And then the second way is actually, it's very related to a lot of what Viktor Frankl talks about, that we can even find meaning in sharing pain. We all feel pain. We all have challenge. We all suffer. So we can find this kind of commonality in sharing pain. And she didn't really give a name or a character for this, but I think of this as the compassionate friend. It's like, how do we find the compassionate friend? Sometimes it shows up as tough love, right? How can we show up and share this very common human thing to experience pain and find meaning in that? Then the third way that she talks about is cultivating or catalyzing this kind of compassionate way of being in the world is by being the shepherd or shepherdess. Is that we act as the shepherd or shepherdess and always think of putting others first before ourselves. And how can we help to serve others? Part of that also is that, and we have all done acts of kindness. So how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel like you've given too much? Like, especially when it's really appreciated. Or does it make you feel lighter? Does it make you feel better about yourself? Anybody? What do you think? Yeah, I see you nodding, Jason. You're saying it makes you feel lighter? Makes you feel like...
Just generous. Generosity does.
Generosity does, yeah. It's kind of, it's good for all of us. We are ultimately all connected, so it kind of has this ripple effect that also impacts us. And a lot of what she's saying is that we're not just necessarily the shepherd or shepherdess, or really grounded in sharing pain, or the commonality of pain with one another, or cultivating our inner self, that we have all of these elements as a part of how we show up in the world, and how we kind of can cultivate this kindness that really emanates from us. But these are three kind of main frameworks that can help us to understand the different ways that they can be cultivated. And I think it's really, really interesting. And then she shared this delightful story, and this has come up before in a different context. And I'm just going to read this from the chapter. She calls it Birdfoot's Grandpa. And it's a poem about a boy and his grandfather who are driving on a country road in a rainstorm. The grandfather keeps stopping the car and getting out to scoop up handfuls of toads that are all over the road and deposit them safely at the roadside. After the 24th time he's done this, the boy loses patience and tells his grandfather, "You can't save them all. Accept it. Get back in. We've got places to go." And the grandfather is knee-deep in the wet grass, his hands full of toads, moving them off to the side of the road, just smiles at his grandson and says, "They have places to go to." Right, so toads, they have places to go too. So acknowledging that we all have places to go. This is good example of being the shepherd and putting others before yourself. And I just think it's so simple and so delightful. We can pause. We can take the time to see each other. We can take the time to say, "I care," in little and large ways. And this is the essence of what compassion can mean. Compassion itself, does anybody know what the definition of compassion is? Like the etymology of compassion? Don't shout it all at once, yes?
This is something that I was thinking about. I'm not on that. Should I get
Sure.
This was Eve was talking about last night.
Okay,
About
great.
compassion practice. And I was really saying, I kind of came up with the idea of like, is forgiveness compassion? You know, it's a sort of like, she said that that's kind of true. There's a sort of relationship between forgiveness and compassion.
Yeah.
So it gave me a new light of thinking about it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Forgiveness can be compassionate, right? They are absolutely interrelated in my mind. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You have to feel compassion towards someone to truly forgive, right? So in my mind, the compassionate opening is kind of precursor to really, truly being able to forgive. And compassion, it means to kind of to suffer with, like to feel with. It doesn't mean that you take on the burden of someone else's suffering, but it means that you have a resonance, that you can understand enough of what they're going through. You yourself have felt pain, and you're able to provide a reflection of like really seeing someone deeply and say like, yeah, I feel you, like I've been there before. A lot of what is talked about with compassion, it kind of gets woven together with and confused with empathy. Empathy, on the other hand, is more related to taking the burden on of other people's suffering and pain, especially when it becomes something like empathic distress, where you feel like, has anybody had one of those relationships? Maybe it's someone in your family, someone you're close to, where you feel like even though this is not directly happening to me, you're suffering and I feel it like it's happening to me. I definitely have had that a lot. I've had to unlearn how to take on the burden as if it's my own. So compassion means that you feel it deeply, but you don't let it impede you from living your life. You don't let it impede you. So when you're like really in empathic distress, are you well equipped to be able to help the person who is also distressed? Not really. Not really. So it gives us just a little bit of space, very much like we cultivate as we're doing meditation practice in general, where we can be a little bit more of the witness. We can say like, I deeply care about that. I feel that. I feel you. And I still am in myself. And I can offer support. I have the space to offer support because I can have that little bit of a barrier. Does this make sense? Yeah. Talking about stuffed animals outside. Talk about something that helps us to feel those kind of cozy, compassionate feelings.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Because I think of the people outside and I'm irked or whatever, I'm just like, you're so loud, we're in here trying,
Yeah.
and so there's this feeling of like, I should be compassionate. And I'm wondering, because I've had this feeling a lot, like we did this practice last night, it's like, sort of compassion goes toward the people that you may also have conflict with, you may be irritated by, you may be in a kind of a competitive or some kind, like you're in some kind of trouble and battle with them. And so compassion plays a role, is like, okay, I'm going to step away from that active engagement.
Sure.
And become compassionate. I mean, how does that work into your definition of it?
Yeah, this is a really great question. Has anyone ever been irked by anyone else in their life? So we can tend to annoy one another, right? It's like I fully will admit, like there are times when I've been annoying, right? And I understand like this when you apologize after, I'm really sorry. Yeah, I wasn't being very. It was a little hard to take there. It's a part of being human. We show up in all of our forms, and I think the way that I try to think about it is that we have our immediate reactions to things, and we have our annoyances, and we notice that we're starting to kind of go down that path of like judgment and pointing the finger like, why would you be so loud? Don't you know that we're in here meditating right now? Come on, this is so rude. And I definitely go there many, many times too. Like even notice myself being pulled away and then having to have this conversation inside of, they don't know what's going on here. They're living their life. They're talking about stuffed animals. I mean, come on. Like, and then we get to choose if we notice that. And we even notice maybe the internal reaction, the kind of tension, the aversion, the pressing away, the like, this is not how it should be. We get into our shoulds. When we really notice that and see it play out in our mind's eye, we actually, that's an indication that we have enough awareness and space to be able to make a clear choice and reframe in our minds of, oh, okay, have I ever been that person? Are there times when maybe I was that person that was a little bit too loud, right? That probably is the case, right? Even if you can't think of a clear example, like, yeah, I'm sure that I was that person once for somebody else. And then you can kind of, it's usually how I go about it, like I can bring myself back, like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And have to go through that process of soothing. And if it is something that is really problematic and egregious, I think that it's important to understand the breadth of what compassion can be and what it can mean. it doesn't always mean I like fully accept what is going on here right now. It could look like tough love, right? The compassionate response could look like tough love, or it could look like I don't accept this, right? And whether or not you can actually learn from this, I'm putting up a boundary because I need to protect myself, right? And that's the most compassionate response here. And I hope that you learn from this. And or like, I'm putting up a boundary because I need to protect my community. I need to protect my family. And that is the most compassionate response. It doesn't mean we just accept and roll over anything that comes our way. So it's very multifaceted. Is that helpful? Hello? Yeah. 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 And we have now little animals running across the upper floor. Life is so full of connections. Ones we can see and ones we can't see. So I want to leave a little bit of space to see if there is anything else arising, and also kind of share a little bit more of what is one more thing that was kind of deeply resonating with me with Pema Chodron's words. So it's really when we have trouble kind of forgiving others, when we have trouble, especially when forgiving ourselves. This is where it starts to get a little bit sticky, a little bit tricky. And when you feel like you've blown it in every possible way, that you've broken commitment irredeemably, like the suggestion is that instead of becoming mired in guilt, like this is such a normal response, that you view it as an incentive to spend the rest of your life recognizing your habitual tendencies and doing your best to strengthen kind of a more kind of compassionate response for yourself, for others, right? Anybody ever felt guilty or felt shame? This is also a very human response too, right? Does anybody have an example of how maybe you turned it around when you started to kind of go down that path? Because this is yet another opportunity. It's with yourself. Like you can notice, like there's that shame monster again. It's like I see it, its horns like really coming out. And how do I kind of see it clearly? And then reframe it and think, well, maybe I don't need to really feel the shame. Maybe I can learn from this. What can I learn from this? Anybody have an example?
I was married for 30 years, and we split up 12 years ago. And it was we were both really relieved to be out of the dysfunction of that marriage that was no longer, had not been working for several years. But there was a lot of disappointment and a lot of, nevertheless. And over the years, as we were trying to sort of normalize the relationship, or at least allow it to be something new, rather than just like, fuck you, I don't want to ever see you again, blah, blah, blah. It was difficult. And I got to the point where I had to set a boundary and say, I can't communicate with you at this point. And I would then allow that boundary to be violated and suffer the consequences, and then have to reestablish it. And that happened a couple of times until I pulled back on it completely. 6 or 7 years went by. My ex-wife contacted me again and wanted to sort of reestablish some communication. I was like, listen, you know, I've been burned in this sort of dance between the two of us before, so I'm really wary of it, and this is why.
Yeah.
And she said, okay, but can you try this again? And I said, I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Yeah.
And I hung up the phone. And I thought about it for a while and realized, okay, I don't want to be an asshole. I want to be open and flexible and see if this can, you know, if we can reestablish some sort of reasonable connection and communication. Yeah. And in the last year or so, we've been in contact with one another several times, and it hasn't been a problem. And we talked about that. We talked about the boundary that I felt I needed to set and why I needed to set it. And this is, you know, and what I realized and what I said to her when I was like, okay, I'm willing to have a conversation with you, is I realized that, you know, I've got two legs that work, fortunately. And even if I didn't, if I had I have the capacity to get up and leave the conversation as soon as it starts heading in a direction that I'm uncomfortable with. I don't need to stay there. And realizing that I had that agency was the beginning of me being able to be willing to communicate with this person, simply because I don't have to go down that rabbit hole. I don't have to be spun into this tornado of bullshit. If it starts to, you know, head that direction, all I have to do is get up and walk away.
Right.
You know, and I've also found that there are certain environments in which I won't put myself in with her. For instance, I won't go to her home and have a conversation with her at her dining room table, because I want to be in neutral territory. I want to be in open space where I'm encouraged to act like an adult, and she's encouraged to act like an adult, rather than go into some childish bullshit that either one of us or both of us will. And it's been transformative. I mean, this is someone that I've known for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
And was with as a romantic partner for 35 years.
Wow.
So this is someone who's, you know, significant. And it would be a shame to not have some kind of amiable relationship with them at this point in our lives.
Yeah. What a beautiful example, and so many of the themes that we've been talking about tonight that come up here. I mean, it's a beautiful example of boundary setting. And also being in this kind of compassion is not fixed, especially when you have an ongoing, lengthy relationship with a person. It's about communication. It's about push and pull. It's about, okay, well, here, not here, this way, not that way, right? And discovering and opening up to more deeper and deeper levels of communication. It sounds like because you've invested the time, both of you, in figuring that out, that you've learned how to be compassionate to yourselves through the process. You've been each other's teachers, even with the friction that happened at certain points along the way, that was helpful to train where your boundaries are, where their boundaries are, you know, and how to be truly compassionate. You know, and I presume that there are points in time where maybe there was some guilt or some shame. And so, right? Yeah, and to move through all of that, that is the essence of being in a compassionate and understanding relationship.
And that's what I found is important for me with compassion with anyone, whether it's in a difficult relationship or not. I mean, compassion is difficult because compassion is looking at the suffering of another person and
Yeah.
being willing to do something about it. So it just in and of itself, that's difficult regardless of the nature of the relationship.
Yeah.
Even in the best of relationships, it's difficult to see another person's compassion
Yeah.
and to be willing to do what one can to help alleviate that suffering. And what it has always required from me is the patience and the willingness to stay with the experience
Yeah.
of investigating
Yeah.
that suffering, their suffering, and how it relates to the similarities in the suffering that I have, and having that patience to really examine it and not
Totally.
react
Yeah.
with aversion.
Yeah. And knowing when we have the capacity to do that and when we don't. Right.
Right, and being resourced
Yeah.
myself to be able to have the ability to offer that generosity.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I love also that what you brought up as another part of the definition of compassion is you don't take it on because you have enough distance to feel it and want to do something to help alleviate it, right? Whereas empathy is you take it on and you feel so flooded yourself and so burdened yourself by it that you don't even have the capacity to be able to do anything about it, right?
Right, if you let empathy go too far.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, totally, totally. Yeah. Okay, we'll do one more and then we'll do then we'll do a practice. Anybody else?
Can I go?
Yeah, please.
And
Yeah, please.
yeah, for me, guilt and shame, this is Tia, and
Yeah,
for me,
hi.
guilt and shame, guilt kind of is a response to like actions. So
Mhm.
I might regret it or feel bad about it or want to do it differently next time or whatever, like that can have guilty feelings. But shame really, really kind of hooks into like identity level stuff, and
Mm,
the pit is deep. Like, so if
yeah,
I feel ashamed of something, like I'm a mess. Um,
yeah.
and it's such a trip. Like one of the big ones recently was I had a client tell me that I was not doing a good job. And I was just like,
Mm,
as I was working through it with all the people, I need to work through, like separating my actions, which did not make my client happy, and who I am, or whether or not I'm good at my work, right? Those are not the same things in any way, right? I clearly displeased this client. Got it. I want to not do that again for all of the reasons, but it's, does she even have enough information to know whether or not I'm good at my job? Or is she just reacting so hugely that I'm, again, taking it all on? There's no boundary there. So yeah, it's a trip to kind of think of when somebody says something and like where I receive it, like, oh, that action I took, I won't take that action in the future, or I will try not to take that action in the future. I'm working on it.
right.
Versus, oh, I'm bad. I'm bad at what I do. I'm bad at what I'm presenting to the world as my work. Like that's deep. Anyway, those are uh, stuff I've had to work through.
Yeah, yeah, you're not alone. Thank you so much for your courage in sharing. And we've all experienced feeling guilt and shame. And I think what comes to mind is how Brene Brown helps to frame the distinction between those two. And you did talk about it really, really clearly, is that the difference between guilt and shame is guilt is you want to do something to kind of learn from that and correct any potential mistakes you've made, or you want to kind of come to a place where you're not doing that again. Whereas shame, you take it all on and there's no place to go. So it is, again, kind of like the difference between compassion, where you want to act to alleviate someone's pain. Guilt, you want to act to rectify whatever wrong was done. Whereas with empathy, it's just like you take on the burden. Shame, you think, I am bad as a person. Like, I am broken. I am bad. Right? It's why shame can be so destructive. So moving from this kind of feeling of shame, like I am bad, to, well, maybe can I move it to a little bit, give myself a little bit of space, move to a place of feeling like, what do I feel guilty about? Like, is there room for growth here? That's, yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It's a really important part of our conversation. Yeah. Someone else had something to share. Does anybody else feel called? Okay. I would love to guide us in a loving kindness practice. I'm kind of taking on, and this is one of the most powerful practices that we can do to generate these feelings of kindness and to feel compassion for ourselves and for others. So I invite you to come into a comfortable position. This could be seated, could be lying down, could even be standing. And if you need to move and shift your position at any point in time, if you feel uncomfortable, if you'd like to sway a little bit, if it starts to feel like you feel a little bit trapped energetically, know that swaying is perfectly fine. And then I invite you to either soften your gaze, maybe looking down a few inches in front of you, or you can close your eyes completely. We'll do this practice for the next about 15 or so minutes. So I invite you to gently settle into your body. And as you settle into your body in this moment, feeling the resonance of our conversation, our courage in sharing openly, feeling the resonance of talking about things like compassion and kindness. I invite you to find one area in your body. Maybe it's a big area like your entire right leg, or maybe it's just the tip of one of your index fingers. One part of your body that feels really open, grounded, present, spacious. Maybe even a pleasant feeling in this area of your body. If you can, identifying one small place in your body that can serve as a kind of anchor, a calm place to rest your attention. Maybe even feeling this calm place begin to spread through more of your body if possible. As you settle more and more into your body, begin to notice the fact that you're breathing. For a few rounds of breath, thinking of each inhale bringing in a little bit more compassion, self-compassion. Maybe even comes with a phrase of, I care about you. I see you. In each exhale, releasing a little bit of tension or holding or feelings of even guilt or shame. What can you release? Bringing in self-compassion with your inhale. I care about you. With the exhale, releasing anything that's not serving you right now. And from this place, I invite you to think of one person or living being, including pets, including your favorite type of animal or favorite type of tree, or favorite place in nature that is really, really easy to love. Really easy to love. Thinking about how you care for this living being. I invite you to think inside your head these loving phrases, sending them toward this being that you love, an easy kind of love. Saying, may you be happy and joyful. May you be healthy and free from suffering. And may you flourish and thrive. May you be happy and joyful. May you be healthy and free from all kinds of suffering. May you flourish and may you thrive. And repeating a few more times in your head. Maybe using the same words or paraphrasing in a way that resonates with you. Wishing this living being well. I invite you to now turn your attention to yourself. And think of turning your attention to yourself, looking at you through the eyes of someone who you know loves you very much. Maybe it's one of your parents. Maybe it's a loved one. Maybe it's a friend. Looking at yourself through their eyes. You can say to yourself these loving and kind messages of, may I be happy and joyful. May I be healthy and free from suffering. May I flourish and thrive. Really taking it in as much as you can. May I be happy and joyful. May I be healthy and free from all kinds of suffering. And may I flourish and thrive. May I be happy, healthy. May I flourish. Gently shifting your attention, I invite you to bring to your mind someone you have a little bit more complicated feelings about. Perhaps there's sometimes easy love, sometimes it's a little bit more challenging. Someone who it's a bit of a mix. Feeling that connection with this person. Just like you, they want these things too. Just like all beings. Sending the same phrases to this person who it's maybe a bit more challenging to be in relationship with. Just like me, I know you want to be happy and joyful. I wish that for you. And may you also be healthy. May you be free from all suffering. And yes, may you flourish. May you thrive. I wish this for you. And again, sending the messages of you too, may you be happy. May you feel joy. And you too, may you be healthy. I wish for the release of any suffering in your life. And yes, may you flourish and thrive. Beginning to shift your attention to something a bit more broad. Starting to get a sense of the people that we find ourselves here with in this physical space and the extension of all of you joining us online. This group here now, practicing together. Us breathing together. And sending to this whole group a wish. May we all be happy. May we all experience joy. May we be healthy. May we be free from suffering. May we flourish. And may we thrive in this life. May we all thrive. And thinking of your loved ones outside of the room, maybe some that allowed you to be here this evening, maybe they're taking care of things at home while you're here. Maybe they live in a different state, or so thinking of this extended circle of loved ones, family, friends, bringing them into the circle as well, and this extra layer of expansion, saying same phrases of may you be healthy and may you be joyful. May we all be happy and joyful. May we together be healthy. May we be free from suffering and pain. May we all together flourish and thrive. And with this broader group, our group here and loved ones beyond this circle, I invite you to get the sense that the awareness is broadening out, perhaps to this neighborhood, to this city, to this state. And see it seeping out your awareness and see how broad you can make it. Maybe it expands all the way to your awareness, a feeling, a holding of this entire world. Maybe it's just a little bit more expansion to the people outside on the street, here. How much more can you sense into expanding into feeling the connection, the web of interconnection? And once you've landed on that expansion, where it feels like you really have a felt sense of that container, I invite us all one more time to offer these phrases. May we all be healthy, happy. May we experience so much joy. May we release any pain and suffering. May we flourish and thrive. May we invest in small acts of kindness to those we know, to strangers, to nature. May we all care for each other. May we invest in joy, in kindness, together. And staying in this space of openness to the degree that you can. Aware of yourself, aware of your connection. I'll offer a chant to ground us at the end of this practice, a chant of kindness, a chant of connection. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. So opening up to hearing sound and allowing yourself to be in this space of loving kindness. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta samasta sukhino bhavantu loka samasta sukhino bhavantu loka samasta sukhino bhavantu loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere, in every realm, on the entire planet, may we be very invested in living our lives in such a way that helps others to live with happiness, with ease. May our lives be in service to bringing kindness into this world. May it be so. It's kind of a poetic interpretation of the Sanskrit words of that chant. It's about loving kindness. It's about compassion. So I invite you to begin to feel awareness come back to the surface of your body, and taking all the time you need in transition to come back into your body, deepen your breath. If your eyes have been closed, you can, when you're ready, begin to open them again, coming back into the space. And we ended right on time. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. I know we have some announcements about upcoming events, and I'm so grateful that you all said yes to being here with me. Such an honor, such a pleasure. Thank you.